This is the fourth time I'm doing this because I keep tripping over my words. It's Julia Latner for Anatomy 1005, and it's September 6th, 2021. And we're talking about the skeletal system. So we'll start with classifications of the types of bone. So you've got in the center here, this would be considered a flat bone, where the sternum is. And then you've got irregular bones, which would be the individual vertebrae. They're kind of their own unique shape. Then you've got something like a long bone, which would be a femur. And then you've got something like a sesamoid shaped bone, which would be the patella. It's kind of rounded. And then you've got short bones, which would be like your metatarsals, what makes up the ankle, what makes up the wrist of the hand. So I think that's it for classifications of bones. Hello, glad you're here. This is Winston. So we'll go over two parts of the skeletal system. There's the axial, which would be the head, the spine, as well as the rib cage. And then there's the appendicular skeleton, which would be the arms and the legs, just basically everything else but head, spine, rib cage. So this is kind of hard to do because the skull is really small. This little dude comes off. Oh, where did it go? There's my thing. Okay, so you've got your frontal bone right here, and then it has a coronal suture up there. You've got two parietal bones with a sagittal suture. You've got an occipital bone with a lambdoid suture, and the temporal bones, which are on both sides, which has a squamous suture. And then right in front of them, this would be part of the ethmoid bone, which you can see also in here. And then there's the sphenoid bone as well. There's a lacrimal bone in there. Up here, these are just the little nasal bones. The vomer kind of separates them. And then there's the inferior nasal concha, which would be in there too. The maxilla is here. Fun fact, I've had a Lefort 1 osteotomy and it was terrible. Fun stuff. And then you've got the mandible here, and it kind of pops out of the little TMJ, the temporomandibular joint, which is kind of interesting. And then if you pop it out, or I guess you can kind of see the styloid process there. The external acoustic meatus, boop. And then the teeth, this guy doesn't have his wisdom teeth, but the wisdom teeth are part of the molars. And then there's premolars, which are two of them right there. So there's 3 molars, then 2. And then you've got your little canines. There's 1 on each side. And then your incisors are the top 4 and top bottom bones. Okay, and then we go into the spine here. It connects into the foramen magnum. You've got 7 cervical vertebrae. You've got 12 thoracic vertebrae and 5 lumbar vertebrae. They're pretty much all have similar structures. They've got a spinous process. They've got the body of the vertebrae. They've got transverse process. They've got intercalated discs. They've got the anterior longitudinal ligament, the posterior longitudinal ligament, ligamenta flava, all that fun stuff. A little bit different with the cervical spine. You've got it, in order to move the head from side to side, there's a little joint called the atlantoaxial joint, and up and down is the atlanto-occipital joint. So that's a little bit different with the cervical spine. And then the thoracic spine, they've got these little facets here in order to connect the rib cage to the spine. The top is the superior costal facet, the bottom is the inferior costal facet. So connect to all the ribs. There's 12 ribs. There's 2 floating ribs at the bottom. They've got little costal cartilages here that connect to the sternum. The top part is called the manubrium, which also connects to the clavicle. Then you've got the body and the xiphoid process. So up here, like I said, you got the clavicle, attaches to the acromion, which attaches to the spine of the scaphoid. You've also got your humerus here, the olecranon's little elbow joint, and then you've got your radius outside and the ulna on two sides. And you've got your little hands. I'm going to use a little drawing to blow it up because I can barely see those bones on the skeleton. So if you can see my little colored diagram here, the little pink, that is the, let me see if I'm pointing to the right one. This is the scaphoid, the pink, and this is the palmar view of the hand. So if it was, the skeleton was in the supine position. So you've got the trapezium, the trapezoid, the capitate, the hamate, the lunate, and then this is an interesting little bone. The pisiform is inside the triquetrium, and all this creates the wrist of the hand. Boom. And then you've got, you kind of see it on the skeleton, you've got the little metacarpals, which is the first part of the finger, the what you call fingers. And then you've got the phalanges, which there's three parts of them. The proximal phalanges are the bones after the metacarpals, middle phalanges, and distal phalanges. There's your little hands. So cute. Then you've got the pelvis. So you've got the, up here is the iliac, which would be what you would consider a hip bone, iliac. The ischium is the back part here, which connects to the pubis up here. And then there's the pubis symphysis, which connects both pubis together and allows for the hips to stretch during childbirth, for example. And then you've also got the coccyx, which is the bottom, and the sacrum, which is all this right there. So that is the top part of it. Here's the leg. You've got your femur and the patella. You've got your tibia and fibia. And then you've got the tootsies. A real word. So I'll pull up a more zoomed in on the bones of the foot, but you've got your metatarsals, which is the first part of the bones going to your toes or your feet. And then you've got the phalanges here, again, proximal, middle, distal phalanges. So let me pull up the little foot so I can show you more in detail. You can see it a little bit better. So the little yellow thing here, that's the calcaneus. The little pink part is the talus. The little green bone is the navicular, followed by the cuboid, and then the cuneiforms are here. Now you can kind of see it from up there. So that creates the foot and ankle part of the skeletal system. Okay. Hope I got everything you were looking for. It's just, it's hard because you can't really see everything on this little guy, but it is important to know skeletal anatomy very well in cases like dislocations or different types of fractures, understanding what part of the body it affects, and for example, if there's a dislocation of the shoulder joint, knowing all the ligaments and the tendons involved with that and how to pop that back into place is very important to know. Allegedly, I heard elbows are the hardest to put back into place for dislocation. I don't know. There's different types of fractures too. There's compound or compression fractures. There's, I forgot what the other one's called. My friend just broke his hand, and it's a spiral fracture. So he was showing me how that looked. So yeah, I hope I wasn't too awkward. I hope this was good. Let me know if I need to go over anything else. Thank you.